This is my solar shed. It is a generous 4 meter by 3 meter shed, and it houses 3 kilowatts of solar panels. If you're interested in solar projects, DIY solar, then definitely stick around. This video is for you. You might find some ideas or get some inspiration, and you may point out some of the things that I could do better in some of my future projects. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the future updates, and to see the new inverter that I'm getting installed to hook up these 6 panels to. Now, straight off the bat, I have to let you know this is not a finished project. I'm producing this video because there's 2 people in my comments, 2 of my subscribers, that are constantly nagging me. What's going on with the solar shed? Where are you at? Yes, I know, I started this project in August, and it's been dribs and drabs and bits and pieces here and there and everywhere. So I'm going to give you a quick whistle stop tour, and then I'm going to let you know what I've got outstanding to do on this project.
Well, first things first, we needed some timber. We managed to bag this on Facebook Marketplace, some 6x2 timber, 3 meter lengths, leftovers from a building project from a large extension, I believe. And we started toying with the angles. This roof is facing southeast, but we knew we couldn't pitch it too high because of permitted development.
Go.
Yes.
Now, it was very sunny when we started this in August, so here, wearing the solar hat for a bit of protection whilst charging his mobile phone, of course, teenager life. The solar panels arrived. Thank you very much for the support to the channel. We were originally going to go with these ground screws as an idea because we were triangulating and it wasn't a freestanding fence. It turned out that the ground was just way too hard, so we needed to do a little bit of work with that demolition bar there, and we needed to dig up some of this stony ground. It was so rock hard, but we got there in the end. We did end up using those ground screws, and we concreted those in because the timber wouldn't have been long enough otherwise, or because I didn't want it to get wet. I can't even remember. An important part of this project was having my kids work with me. I've always done that since they were young, but just teaching them all of these important skills of putting posts in the ground and mixing up concrete and using drills. So here you can see the rough skeleton of the frame. You can see the pitch of the roof. This is probably a bad angle because I've elevated the camera. You can see roughly what we're trying to work with here. As I said, this is basically the main frame of it is 6x2 timbers. The front posts are 4-inch fence posts. So it gives us quite a strong frame to work with. This is me test fitting one of the first panels to make sure my rough calculations were okay. And then we started sliding a few more on. So there you can see I just slid 4 of those panels on, a picture from one of the bedroom roofs, just to see how it's working out. Well, straight away, first night of the solar panels up here, and the local neighbourhood cats clearly like this new little walkway for them. How are we going to keep their muddy paws off there then? And a little bit of solar testing straight away. MC4 straight into one of the power stations. What are we getting at the moment? 300. Oh, it's down. Okay. The sun's just gone behind the clouds as I was testing. It was 375 watts in this power station, and I thought just quickly charge this up before our next camping trip. Right, lots more work to be done. Okay, so I've been working on a concealed mounting system for this little roof array there. So there'll be nothing exposed on the outside. Anyway, I've been looking at all the brackets and I've been testing them, trying them. I was going to put some noggins in the middle here so that these sort of brackets could bolt on, and then maybe bolt the two panels together, and then this will screw into the noggin that then runs across here. And you can see, tried some various other brackets. This one, see, bolting together, and it's got that little adjustment. But ultimately, I think this is the neatest way. No off-the-shelf bracket, but that's about 10mm aluminium bar, and it's just got a little notch cut in it, and then 2 screws straight into that, and then that just clamps it down. So there you go. Does that give you a better idea? Nice little concealed system. It means that you don't need to put extra noggins in, so it just keeps everything as simple as possible. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to keep going with them, cut myself a few more, and
dispense with all the complicated off-the-shelf bracketry. Okay, lots of building work going on, but that means lots of power tools, and we're just testing out this one panel. Hooked it up there, input into the power station, charging all the power tool batteries. 130 watts in and 68 watts out currently. I need to put more stuff on charge, I guess. Let's have a bit of a closer look at it now. So these front 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 posts were already in the ground. There used to be some privacy screen in there, and as I found with those back posts, the ground is so rocky, I just decided to leave those in and sort of make do with them as they were. I probably should have fettled them a little bit more. The rest of the construction, 6x2 timber. You can see we needed quite a lot of bracing along here to bring some of this in line, and I had to trim some of these posts to try and get it all lined up nicely. At the back I've got 6x4 essentially, because I've got two 6x2 posts sandwiched together, bolted together, and as you can see, the top beam there is rested on one of the posts. So we've got kind of like can't remember what they're called, like a king stud and a jack stud, something like that. Down the end similar as well, and these had to be concreted in considerably. I tried to use some ground screws. I thought I'd give them a try. This ground was absolutely solid. If you have a look down there, you can see we've coach bolted these two 6x2 timbers together, but those ground screws, ultimately we had to smash the dirt out and we had to concrete those in. So these are solid. Then we're coming across, and of course we've got the standard roof construction here, and I tried to make the most. So these were 3-meter lengths of timber, and so there are a couple of bits where we had to slightly extend to make this work for a 4-meter by 3.3 meter roof. And of course, I think I've showed these clamps previously anyway, but this is the concealed clamping system that it seems to be pretty solid. There's no moving them, and hopefully that will allow a small amount of expansion and contraction as well as needed with the weather. So that's a quick look at let me show you around the front here at my other aluminium brackets. So just to support the front of the panels here, we've got 2 bolted down at the normal positions. Can you see that there? Yep. And then the middle one is just to stop the panel bowing, just support it in the middle there to try and keep it nice and flat. So that's not actually bolted in, so once again that can just allow for any expansion or contraction. You can see it's that way along, so we've got 3 of those support brackets per panel across the front edge. So we're going to do some cladding along here. I've got to set up a bit of framework here, cladding along the back end, and then we're going to put some big heavy duty frame and doors on here, making it really secure and very solid, as my shed at my old home was. And so far, quickly plugged in each one of the panels individually. Highest output I saw was about 450 watts for each one of the panels. So on a good day, you know, we're kicking towards 3 kilowatts, 2.5, 3 kilowatts. That's all for now. And that's with all 6 panels on there, properly bolted down, mounted, and you can see how that sits on the frame. Quite a nice solid roof. Now, sealing up between those frames was a bit of an issue. I did just go with a silicone sealant kind of method, and I sealed it as a bead of silicone around the middle and then on the top and on the bottom. These are the front panels, the cladding. My boys did all of that by themselves. They cut it, they screwed it on. You'll see in some of my other videos where I laid a few different panels on there so I could compare the 505 watt Longi panels that I'm using against some of the other benchmarks. This was a reel of 4mm PV cable. It ran out a lot quicker than I expected, so make sure you buy carefully. These were the old temporary bike shed unit things I had. I whacked them on Facebook Marketplace. I could not believe how popular they were. My phone just did not stop, and people were trying to start a bidding war.
I just sold them to the first person. I could get rid of them too. But I think I sold one of them for 250 quid and the other one 150, something like that. There you can see the back wall going in, even though this was now at a sloped angle. My boys, once again, they stepped up and did all of the cutting and the measuring and screwing those together. And so each one of those pieces of cladding had at least 4 screws holding it on, keeping it nice and strong. And then they turned their hand back to digging another hole, because we had one last hole to dig for the post that we're going to hang the door on. There you can see our doorway, space for the door on the right, and our 3 rails on the left-hand side that have gone on our newly cemented in post.
Well, that was the situation starting from August, and kind of dribs and jabs everywhere. But as you can see, I still haven't got fascia trims on here. I was going for the anthracite aluminium trims. Looks like I may just paint them with a bitumen paint anyway. As I've hopefully mentioned already at some point in this video, these are all leftovers, reclaimed bits and pieces, and this was meant to be a budget build. So a few of the bits on the inside that may not have been shown very well on the previous footage. I still haven't completed all of my aluminium clamps, so I've still got a couple with the old bits there. I've got one small bit of a leak and I'm not sure how it's come through, but I need to work that out. Not the end of the world at the moment. The good thing with having like an open eaves at the front and at the back is that it gets very good ventilation in here. So even though we get a couple of drips, it dries out and it's no big deal. And perhaps this gives a little bit better view. So you've got one corner post there, you've got one center post here, one corner post there. These are 6x2 timbers. It's the same 6x2 timbers that are used along here. I think these were 3 meter lengths of this 6x2 timber. And then of course we've got the solar panels overhanging on the front and overhanging on the back. These 4-inch fence posts were already here. As we previously mentioned, they weren't very straight. We had to do a little bit of massaging and we had to do a little bit of padding in the middle, because for some reason this one takes a step that way as well as that one. So it was kind of make do and mend sort of situation. There's loads of bits I would have liked to do differently, but part of this project was working with my kids, letting them have a good experience and just using the materials that we had available to us, what I could get from work, what I could get free or cheap. Some of the questions I've had are about the strength of it during a storm. Well, I'm confident now, having had a good look and a good feel during a storm. This is probably stronger than any roof mounted solar. Each solar panel has 6 clamps on it. I need to tidy up all my wiring. I've got the long string cables that go back to where the inverter's going to be, and I'll insert in here how I make those. Definitely get yourself a reel. You can buy pre-made solar cables like this one at any length, but you will save yourself an absolute fortune if you just buy a drum of the cable, especially if, like me, you're putting solar panels down at the end of the garden. Then just make up your own cables. Very simple, very easy, as long as you've got the right tools for the job. In the past, I've used these Snap-on Blue Point wire strippers. I've used them for many years. They're okay, they do the job just fine. But Kaiweets sent me these, and these are an upgrade. Straight off the bat, I like that it's got a really good wire cutter built into it, so I don't need a separate tool for that. When you start with a fresh bit of cable from the drum, you always want to cut the end off it because it's typically corroded where it's been exposed. So we'll chop a little bit off that. Get a couple of inches off, and you can see we've got nice fresh gleaming copper that we're going to crimp to. You can see with this PV cable, it's double insulated. The great thing about these wire strippers is that they do have adjustable pressure for how much they need to cut through the insulation, and they've got an adjustable stop. So you can set that, and then you can strip all of your PV cable to get it all uniform and exactly the same. As easy as that. Then make sure you're using specific MC4 crimpers. Again, I've got a few different types of crimpers, but these jaws are important. See the little dimple there? That makes sure that the metal sleeve
wraps around in the correct way so you have perfect contact every time. So I'll put the metal pin in the crimper. In my case, it's going in the middle there. I think that's for 4mm. I think from memory, these jaws are 2mm, 4mm, 6mm, there or thereabouts. Oh yeah, it says on the back 2.5, 4 and 6. Okay, so I've got a 4mm cable, and then once I've got that in the jaws, and you can see the open end of the pin is towards the top that has that little dimple, and you'll see how this folds it round. So insert the cable in there. No rogue strands. So we are fully seated in there. Crimp away. Now let's pop that out, and you can inspect that to see how that is nicely crimped. And this part here is the bit that is folding over. So that's what the little dimple does, and that's really important that you use the correct MC4 tool. Any bad contact could result in excess heat or fire in worst case scenario. Once we've done that, we're going to pop it in the MC4 connector, okay? So you may need to just loosen off the back end, which has like basically like a stuffing gland in it. That's your rubber sleeve that ensures that this connector is watertight. So all we need to do is insert this into the back end of the connector and listen for the click, okay? There you go. So firm click in there. It won't come back out because of the design of the connector. And now all we need to do is tighten this MC4 connector so it's torqued properly, and then you know that this cable is not only watertight, but it is grabbing onto the insulation as well. So if someone tries to pull this, it won't be just holding into that metal crimp connector. To do that, you're going to need some of these MC4 tools. There's loads of different types, but these are a couple that I like to use. You can see how they align on there. This one is a multi one, so it just sits over the centerpiece, and once again we're just going to listen out for a click, and it will automatically be torqued to the correct torque setting to ensure safety and waterproofness. There you go. One click, you're done. You don't need to over tighten it. You don't need to go for a second click. This will just automatically be done when it's done. There we have one finished MC4 connector. Now, the last step that we want to take once we've crimped onto both ends, so we just want to use a multimeter, and we just want to measure the cable resistance just to make sure we've got good connections and no issues. So here's your example. Got one probe in that end, I've got one probe in this end, and as you can see from that, 0, perfect resistance reading, absolutely no issues whatsoever. Good connections. Coming up later in the project, we'll also be showing you this ferrule kit and where you'll be using that, but that will be for the AC side of the system. We won't be needing that on the DC side. We can also check the output by using this clamp section around one of the cables, and we will give you an example of that later so you can measure the output of individual panels. So as you can see, for now, I'm charging power stations, and that's basically what I've been doing for months. I've been using all these solar panels to charge the power stations. So I need to hook all these solar panels up in series, and then cable tie this up nicely, and then I need to feed it back through. I need to do some earthing, so I need to figure out an earth rod that I'm going to put behind that wall down in the corner there, and then I really need to earth all of these solar panels. And in these holes here, you can see that there is some bare aluminium, but to make sure that we're earthing them properly, we may get our angle grinder with a flap disc, just take some of the paint off, make sure we can earth this properly. The Longi Hymos X6 505 watt panels have been performing exceptionally well. Despite their suboptimal orientation towards southeast, we've achieved some great generation, which has been scattered amongst loads of the other videos, the EcoFlow Stream videos, the AFRI videos. I've shown it quite clearly. At the moment, it's 2 p.m, and so the sun is
clearly in southwest of the sky, and we are we're coming towards the end of November. And just a second ago, I was getting 500 watts from the 4 panels, even though we are not in the correct orientation for maximum generation. What else? I think you saw that we buried this post in there. This is another 4-inch fence post, and we've got this door, which we haven't yet finished, but we just had to get something on there just to keep it secure. At the moment, a lot of the bikes are all a bit of a mess, so we're up to 620 watts now generation. Not too bad. That power station is up at 99%. I should rotate into a different one. I need to work on the mounting solutions for the bikes. So the lighter bikes we will probably hang up around the walls, as I've done with that road bike. And it's BMX. I need to put the front wheel back on it. Probably the BMXs will hang up. Then the heavier bikes like the e-bikes and the big mountain bikes, they can probably all sit on the ground. Some of them have got kickstands. Some of them got a rack, but we just want this space to be nice and easy to be able to wheel any bike in or out without having to move other bikes. So I need to sort out the rest of the timber here, sort out what I'm doing with that. I've got loads of offcuts and all of the smaller bits that were 6 to 8 inches. We burnt a whole load of that on bonfire night. And of course, probably the biggest project was we had this kind of concrete slab patio type thing where the existing shed sat, and we need to extend that. We need to work out base. There's some old tree stumps and other bits that we need to pull out. We should have done all of this before we built it really, but it's kind of doing everything back to front, and we need to of course extend it beyond here. I may go with some gravel grids, fill them with gravel. You can get that very cheaply, really. It's very inexpensive. And then we're going to have to work on a path as well, because as you can see already, we are absolutely killing the grass in the back garden here. So any suggestions on that would be welcome as well. So really, the 3 big things, I hope I've covered them, is we were going to put a cap-in trim on here, like a fascia trim, and I think we're just going to go with bitumen paint. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know what you think about drainage. I hope I mentioned the guttering along the front here and what I should do about that. The biggest issue really is as it drips off, it's splashing down here and then the mud is splashing up against the front of this wall. So you see the bottom layer of it is looking quite muddy. And then of course we need to do something with some gravel, some slabs, some sort of walkway and hard base inside the shed itself. I hope in some way this video gives you some inspiration to get on with the project yourself and gives you some ideas, some things to think about. Like the video, drop something in the comments that will help me and my project, and you'll be seeing a very big solar project coming soon to the channel. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.